Do you take supplements? Should you take supplements? I think everybody's got to make that choice, and we're going to talk about 3 supplements that may help you, especially on a carnivore diet. And, I just was listening to Dr. Rhonda Patrick, although I don't agree with her on a lot of things. On some of the things I do, and she pointed out these 3 supplements that I think are beneficial to everybody, and we're going to get into it today. This is Anthony Stewart. This is Food for Thought, and we're questioning everything they've ever said. And they say some stuff like, you need, you must. And my thoughts on these 3 supplements are basically, here's my take on it. Supplements should be supplemental to a diet. Now, if you're eating a proper human diet, in a perfect world, wouldn't have to use supplements. But I think these 3 fall into this category of gray area quite significantly. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist. This is my opinion. These are my thoughts. This is not medical advice, but these things you should be aware of, and I'm going to help you out with these today. To the first one, this could help especially at the start, but if you're getting it from food, you shouldn't need it. Now, it's omega-3s. Omega-3 fatty acids found in fish oil, popularly. They're very anti-inflammatory, essential for the brain, for a lot of functions in the cells. And I think what it comes down to is once you cut out the omega-6, the seed oil, the linoleic acid found in most processed foods and vegetable oil, seed oils, I think that becomes less necessary because it's all about the ratio between your omega-3 to omega-6. Now, naturally, we need omega-6s, but they are found in food, and they are the polyunsaturated fats, found in polyunsaturated fats mostly. So once you cut out vegetable oils, seed oils, you're taking a great step forward. Now, how are you getting your omega-3s? They're found in eggs, in grass-fed, grass-finished beef, and I think we can get them, obviously in fish. I think we can get them naturally through our diet. In the context of lowering your omega-6 intake, will naturally bring that ratio to a better place. Should you supplement fish oil? There's some caveats here. You got to be aware of things like a lot of the stuff they're made. They go rancid. They're not stable. They're not shelf stable. So a lot of the fish oil, especially the cheap generic ones that you're just taking, they might not be that great. So, if I had to, help somebody who was definitely not a carnivore, first and foremost, I would suggest you cut out the seed oils. That's great. That's awesome. Now, if you needed to boost your omega-3s for a time, I would suggest eating more fish, like, some salmon or some sardines, oysters. They're all high in omega-3, the EPAs and DHAs that we really need. So, do you supplement this? I don't think it's necessary if you're eating a proper, human diet, but they are very beneficial. Especially, I had a vegetarian friend who was, feeling brain fog, down, lethargic, whatever. Got him to eat salmon, and it was like, bam, his brain lit up. Focus, all this stuff. He was in an accident, and he got, he was traumatized, and he had physical challenges, but he noticed his brain, like he was a student as well, and he couldn't focus. And as soon as he got that omega-3, it lit up his brain. So that there's something to be said there. So you might want to think about omega-3s, but your omega-3 to omega-6 ratio, I believe, in my opinion, is the most important thing. Cut out the seed oils, cut out the omega-6 that are inflammatory, and naturally increase your omega-3s. If you have to supplement, maybe cod liver oil, but to find it in food first is always better. That's my thoughts. Number 2 is magnesium. Now, on a carnivore diet, I believe all of our minerals, all the RDAs get called into question. So in a normal person, yes, you should absolutely 100% be supplementing with magnesium. I believe the plants now are deprived of magnesium through our soil, minerals in the soil being depleted and destroyed. So all the stuff that used to have a lot of magnesium probably doesn't have nearly as much anymore. So that's one of those nutrients that gets passed from the soil to the plant, and you want to be making sure your magnesium is responsible for a lot of cellular functions. It's an electrolyte. It's very important. We're always using magnesium to distribute vitamin D and calcium. They're all working in synergy, and I think magnesium is one of those things that's very like there's a lot of play out there, and I think to be deficient in magnesium will probably be worse than being sufficient or on the a little bit more than needed. So what my thoughts are on I take a magnesium malate every night. It's mainly to cover my ass. With like a lot of people on the online, you see them drinking Element, you see them taking, and it's salt, potassium, magnesium, pretty simple. So I take sea salt in the morning, potassium in the morning, and magnesium at night. Why magnesium though? Because I can't afford to be eating farm, grass-fed, grass-finished beef all the time, like the optimal. So my theory is that maybe the stuff that I'm eating will be a little bit less because, it's just the way our modern food system is gone. So it's more of a cover my own ass. But magnesium, a lot of people with cramps, it helps people sleep. Look to magnesium. Like what I say about electrolytes first is, salt first, then potassium and magnesium. And if you're cramping up somewhere, constipation is a cramp. Really, it's the peristalsis is getting disrupted because of the way your body's handling the muscular contraction. So maybe magnesium, and that might help. A lot of people have trouble sleeping. This could help you sleep. So magnesium, I believe, may be a supplement that you might want to think about. Number 3, very important, especially nowadays. Right now is really important, vitamin D. Now, my thoughts on this, obviously try and get out in the sun as much as possible. Then you get your vitamin D from food, but unfortunately, vitamin D is very small amounts in food, and it's like in a lot of skin. Anything that's been exposed to the sunlight on an animal will have vitamin D. It's kind of that circle of life thing where we synthesize vitamin D through our skin, through cholesterol and the sun. And then it goes into our organs, does some converting, and then makes it active. So you can get it from food, and I think there's some vitamin D in mushrooms. Now there's 2 kinds, vitamin D1 and vitamin D2. It's kind of like basically one is the plant world, one is the animal world. The animal world, like always, it seems to be like, that's a little bit better. It's like K1 and K2, and, so getting it from a plant-based source, vitamin A from beta-carotene, which that's another video. Anyway, it's the animal version of vitamin D, which we make when we synthesize it through the sun, is very important. Now, with all the pandemic talk and cold and flu season, you might want to think about supplementing. And now this is choose your own adventure here, but the way that I come across this is that you need to be over 20 nanograms per deciliter in your blood. Now it's hard. You can go get a test, but if you can't test, it might be, this is another theory, you might want to cover your ass with this, especially when there's not sun and you're not getting sunlight. That would mean upping the dosage. Now, people say anywhere from 10,000 IUs to 2,000 to 4,000 IUs a day. Most of the people I talk to in the wintertime, when the sun's not out, they take about 4,000 IUs a day. When you look into the literature, there is not a lot of vitamin D toxicity. There was some studies and some papers done while the pandemic was on, where they were mega dosing people that were sick to 60,000 to 100,000 IUs a day, and they were fine. Now, I'm not saying do that. I'm just saying vitamin D is one of those things. If you look at it naturally, I believe that in the summertime we build up our storage, and then in the wintertime we let that storage happen. And it's kind of funny how cold and flu season is in the fall when the sun goes down. It's kind of natural. So covering your ass with vitamin D may be a good way to give your body some extra support. And I can assure you, taking 5,000, 10,000 IUs is probably okay. Whoever you want to talk to about this, you're going to have to do your own due diligence and figure this out. But the way I work is I try and get out in the sun as much as possible in the summertime. When the sun goes down, I take about 4,000 to 6,000 IUs a day. Just to cover my ass. Now, the one caveat with vitamin D is that it works with K2. Now, K2, when we're eating butter and fat from animals, you have no problem with this. The K2 distributes the calcium and the vitamin D and helps do wonderful things for your heart. And when you're getting it naturally, which is great, another plant-based version is sauerkraut. Sauerkraut is actually K2, where K1 is found in some plant material, but we have to convert it into K2. So keeping K2 along with vitamin D, if you're just supplementing vitamin D and you're not eating a lot of vitamin K2 enriched foods, it might be a good thing to do is to get a vitamin D supplement with K2. Now, we know if you've been anywhere around, vitamin D is associated with the effects of that viral issue. So get your vitamin D. Why not? It's cheap. It's easy to be sufficient in vitamin D, and extra vitamin D is probably way better than being deficient and vulnerable because it works specifically with your immune system. And it's funny how I did a course in what vitamin D does in your body, and this is biology. And then I actually did some research into what certain jabs did. And it's funny how vitamin D, the mechanisms almost line up the way it transcribes from your DNA. So vitamin D is a very, very good idea for anybody who's looking to boost immunity, keep your immunity, and get through this cold and flu season. So those are 3 supplements, guys. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you supplement with, what your thoughts are on supplements if you take them. And like always, stay strong.